everybody. Welcome to Marble Hill 225, Neighborhood and You. And this show is about you, about your neighborhood, about all the good that's being done in your community. It's not about me, the host. It's not about outside big shots or whatever. It's about the people inside that community, because we hear so much about the negative things that go on. We see it on the news, the gossip that's going on about bad things. But we need to know and hear about the good, and also to be told about good things that happen to good people in our neighborhoods, in your neighborhoods, okay? So it's about you and the community. So my last show previously, I had a guest on, Derek Doward. He is the CEO of the Bronx Basketball Hall of Fame. And on this show, I have another member of the board, Rudy Coombs, who is part of the Bronx Basketball Hall of Fame. He's on the board of directors. He's here with me. Welcome, Rudy.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm blessed to be here.
Amen. And I thank you for coming on this show. Okay, now. So we heard from Derek. We're going to hear from Rudy. And you and Derek are friends. Y'all grew up together?
Known Derek since high school, 9th grade.
Wow.
Yeah.
What high school was that?
Well, he went to Taft High School, and I went to 3 different high schools, which I went to DeWitt Clinton for 2 years, and then I left there and went to St. Raymond's, and from St. Raymond's I went to Theodore Roosevelt High School, and that's a story in itself. But I've known Derek ever since then, from high school. And so Derek gave me a call about the Bronx Basketball Hall of Fame,
Yes.
and that's where it all got started.
Okay, so while you were you said you went to Clinton?
DeWitt Clinton High School, which was
Clinton?
all boys at that time.
Right, because I grew up in that era when Clinton was all boys and Walton was all girls.
That's
now
right.
they're
That's
co-ed.
right. That's right.
But you went there when it was all boys.
I went there when it was all boys.
I used to sneak there and watch some of the games. Maybe I saw you without recognizing you, knowing that was you. And then what school you went to next, you said?
After that, I went to St. Raymond's.
Okay.
Yeah.
St. Raymond's, my son graduated from St. Ray's, the Ravens.
That's correct.
Okay, you played on the varsity for the Ravens.
Played on the varsity
All
for
right
them.
now. And then your third school?
My third school was Theodore Roosevelt High School.
That's a luxury to have the ability and had the opportunity to play on 3 different teams, because I'm looking at the different schools because they have different styles of play.
Right.
So,
going from Catholic to public school is different.
okay.
And getting a chance to play Catholic school and public school gave me a knowledge of the game in both different aspects.
Right.
And I was blessed about that. I didn't try to do that purposely. It
Right.
just happened that way.
Okay. And at any one time, you said you grew up together, and you and Derek now together are with the Bronx Basketball Hall of Fame. Did y'all play against each other?
We played against each other. I played against Taft, and also we played together.
Together. Okay,
right?
great.
And we used to practice together as
Wonderful.
youngsters. We used to practice in the gym.
Okay.
And we just practiced jump shots, which he had a very good jump shot.
Really?
And mine wasn't too bad either.
All right now.
So.
I'm sitting with 2 basketball Hall of Famers. All right, great. So how old were you when you really seriously began thinking about playing basketball?
I think I was 9 when I seriously started thinking about playing basketball. I was playing baseball, because usually all of us start out playing baseball or football.
Or stickball?
Stickball.
Okay.
Oh, you know about stickball?
I know about
stickball. A lot of
stickball.
people don't know about stickball.
Yes.
Many of my mother's broomsticks was used for stickball.
Wow. She'd be like, where's my broom? Okay. And I'm sure that had a great impact on you, you know, playing basketball in your neighborhood.
Oh, yeah, most definitely. Growing up in the South Bronx was difficult as it is anyway.
Right.
South Bronx back then, 60s, 70s, it was really rough.
Right.
They called it Fort Apache.
Oh, I remember
the
that.
Bronx was burning down.
Yes.
And it was really burning down.
It was.
And so to see the Bronx now just shows where it was and where it is.
Right.
Okay?
And they made a movie about that, and I tell some people, no, that movie showed a true life of what was happening in Fort Apache.
Absolutely.
In some of those areas now, they build apartment buildings and stores and stuff. But
luxury apartment buildings.
yes. So now, getting back with the Bronx Basketball Hall of Fame. So what engaged you to become a part of that organization?
Well, for one, Tiny Archibald, who's been an inspiration as me coming up,
Right.
watching the things that he's done on the basketball court and off the basketball court.
Right.
Because he's always giving back.
Okay.
A lot of pros don't do that and don't come back to the community. Tiny Archibald is not one of those.
So you played in the same houses, or you were out there with Tiny out there? Was he just in Patterson, or he was all over in the Bronx?
He was all over in the Bronx, but
Yeah.
predominantly he worked with Patterson
Okay.
youth, but he was all over the Bronx giving back, and that's just how he was.
Okay. And now, because I can remember, you know, watching Tiny Archibald on the NBA and some other NBA players that I was fond of growing up, and realizing that they came from the Bronx. And,
Absolutely.
And that's why I'm saying it's about Bronx neighborhood and you, because a lot of good players came out of the Bronx, and not just players, coaches, referees, people associated with basketball itself. So now you're with the Bronx Basketball Hall of Fame. What is your function with that organization? What do you do?
I'm community liaison. I'm with a lot of organizations, so with the network that I already have, I bring to the table to the Bronx Basketball Hall of Fame, and I try to keep the connections with the different organizations and letting people know what we're doing and what we're trying to do.
Right, right.
Okay.
Because the Bronx Basketball Hall of Fame has a tremendous mission, a great mission.
Absolutely, and we have some great leaders right now in the Bronx. Borough President Vanessa Gibson, she's supporting us. We got District Attorney Darcella Clark, she's supporting us.
Yes.
We got Kevin Rowley, legislator, he's supporting us.
Right.
And we got Andy King, past legislator.
Yes.
We got a lot of people that's supporting the Bronx Basketball Hall of Fame that has, that are movers and shakers in the Bronx.
Right. And those names that Rudy named, at the last function, at the dinner and the awards dinner, they came out to that dinner to show their support in what this organization, the Bronx Basketball Hall of Fame, and what you're setting out to do. And as I stand, if I remember, as Derek said on our previous show, you're 2.5 years strong into your movement with this organization.
Absolutely. And as Derek was saying, to our surprise, when we first started out, we was thinking 200 people.
Yeah.
And then the 200 went from 250 to 300, and we had to go back to the venue to say, look, we got to go up to 400.
Right.
And it was spectacular, and it's been going up ever since. I mean,
Right.
we're looking to be 500 to 600 people this year.
Oh my goodness. Do they have space for that?
We're going to have to work it out.
That's right. Because I remember at the last one last year in 2023 in November, there were like people waiting there because they had to get more tables and chairs to set up.
Well, money talks, so they'll get
Yeah.
the tables and the chairs.
That's right. That's good. So now, so you are helping with these functions with the Bronx Basketball Hall of Fame. So what is your prominent position? You're associated with a lot of different organizations in the Bronx that I'm just learning a little bit more about you, to be truthfully, and I'm thankful for the organization because it's helping me to grow in knowledge of how basketball started and the different people on the board, which I'll have other members of the board on the show so that they can express themselves and their functions and their contributions to the organization, and learning some things about you. I'm very impressed. So you're associated with a few other affiliations?
Yes, I'm associated with National Alliance of Postal and Federal Employees. I've been a member of them for 35 years.
Wow.
And at one time I was the president of the organization, Local 813. Then I'm on the board of directors for the 100 Black Men of New York. That's the founding chapter of all the 100 Black Men of New York.
Okay.
So then I'm also on the youth shelter program of Westchester, who is an alternative for incarceration for young men 18 to 29. I've been with them for 30 years.
Wow.
Okay, and then I'm with the Bronx Alumni chapter of Kappa Alpha Psi Fraternity Incorporated. And all of these organizations are doing some great things.
Right. And hearing you talk about that, I picked up on one most important thing, your longevity of time with them. So that lets me know that once you get involved with something and you see a purpose and a mission for it, you stay with it. You stick with it. And there's some core values about yourself that you put into it. Tell us about that.
You're touching on some really traumatic experiences in my life that got me to this point. And so I'm going to tell you a story. I'm going to try to make it as brief as possible because this is why I do what I do. A lot of people say, well, why Rudy does this and why he's so committed to youth and stuff like that.
Right.
Well, 1973, I came home after getting a basketball scholarship to Payne College in Augusta, Georgia. And I was home for a brief holiday break. And so I was on 149th and 3rd Avenue getting my mother and father their 25th anniversary gift.
Wow.
Coming out of a jewelry store.
Uh-huh.
And as I coming out, there's two Caucasian men approaching me and grabbed me by each arm and pulling me to this car.
Wow.
They did not identify themselves as law enforcement or nothing. So now I'm fighting for my life. I kick one in the groin and he goes down.
Wow.
And I'm struggling and we fighting like we're in the movies. I mean, we fighting, we throwing punches to, you know, just knock each other out.
Defending yourself.
And so the one that I kicked in the groin, he recovered and he pulled out a silver pearl handle 38 and with his badge and said, NYP detectives freeze. And he's pointing right at my face or my head.
Yeah.
So I immediately froze and I said, well, why didn't you identify yourselves? So they handcuffed me and they roughed me up a little bit because they said that I was resisting arrest.
Oh, wow.
So they take me over to an undercover car that they had. And in the back seat is a lady, a black lady. And I'm outside and they push my head down so I'm right directly facing this black lady.
Right.
And they asked her, is this the young man who assaulted and tried to rob you?
Whoa.
I looked at the woman and she's high off of heroin. Okay, how do I know? Because I'm in a heroin environment. I grew up with heroin addicts.
Okay.
Okay, I've seen that.
Recognize
so you
it.
can recognize it right away. So they asked her to open up her eyes and identify me, which she raised her head, looked at me, and said it was me and put her head back down. Immediately, they arrested me for assault and robbery on this woman who I've never seen in my life.
My goodness.
Okay, so now the ball starts rolling. I'm going through the judicial system for the first time in my life.
Oh my.
And so, fortunately, the judge has saw that stated that I was in college, so he did his homework.
Right.
And he found out, called my president of my school, called my coach and found out they're not having any problems with me.
Right.
I'm doing good in school.
Right.
And so the district attorney wanted my bail to be $50,000 in 1973.
That's a lot.
Okay. So the judge said, wait a minute, this young man is in school.
Right.
He has no rap sheet.
Right.
Okay. And I spoke to the president and the coach, and they gave him a A+ as far as a person and what he's doing down there. So no, we're not gonna do no $50,000 bail. We're gonna let him go into custody of his parents.
Okay.
And this alleviated me going to Rikers Island.
Thank you, Jesus.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you already heard about Rikers now. So
yes.
I don't know how it was back then, but thank God I didn't get a chance to find out.
Yes.
Okay. So now, I go in the custody of my parents. So now I can't go back to school. In 3 weeks, I have to wait for my first trial. Okay, so I was told if I found guilty that I wouldn't be getting my scholarship. If I'm found guilty, I'm going to prison anyway. So the scholarship wouldn't matter.
Right.
So anyway, I went to the first trial, and the lady came in and said it was me. Okay, so I had to wait another 3 to 4 weeks. I think it was about a month for the second trial.
And you're missing school.
I'm missing school, missing everything. I'm missing the
this.
tournaments, I'm missing everything.
Wow.
So now I go to the second trial, and the lady comes in and says it's me again. So now my legal aid, who thought that this would never go any further, he comes to me and he says, Mr. Coombs, you need to take 3 or 5 years because if you go to the third trial and you're found guilty, you're going to get 15 to 25. But little did I know that most people take the plea bargain because they're scared to take that third trial because
Right.
3 strikes, you're out.
Right.
And 15 to 25 is a lot different than doing 3 to 5.
Right.
But I didn't care about that because I knew I was innocent. I didn't do the crime.
Right.
So why should I do the time?
Exactly.
Okay, so I said, no, take it to trial.
Wow.
Okay? And so we went to trial, and here we go again. The lady comes in. This is my last trial
Last
before
chance,
being
yeah,
sentenced.
right.
The lady comes in and says, it's me. There's no more trials. I'm going to prison for 15 to 25 years for something I didn't do.
Oh my goodness.
This is real.
Yes. I'm
Okay,
hearing
so
it.
now I'm coming back home and I'm telling my parents, look, I didn't do this. I'm not going to stay in prison for something I didn't do. That's the talk of a young man not realizing once you go in prison, you ain't getting out of there that easy.
Right, right.
So anyway, that was my thing. And so I'm walking up the stairs. If you know the 161st and Grand Concourse, the Supreme Court.
Yes,
and
yes.
those stairs that look like you're going to heaven.
Yeah,
but
yeah,
I wasn't
yeah.
going to heaven.
Okay.
Okay, so I get inside. And as soon as I get in, they cuff me again. I go up to the judge's desk and I sit down and he calls the lady in the back. Now, what's so unique about this, the lady didn't have to come to my sentencing. She had already said that
Exactly.
but the judge, and I didn't find this out till years after,
Right.
the judge believed that I was innocent, went and picked her up, had a car pick her up and
Wow.
bring her to my sentencing.
Wow.
Okay, then what he did, he said, ma'am, approach the bench. And he said, young man, approach the bench. So I'm approaching the bench, we standing together,
Yes.
all right? He says to her, he says, now I want you to tell me, is this the young man who tried to assault you and rob you? He said, I want you to look me in the face, look him in the face, and tell me. So she looked him in the face, looked me in the face, and looked back at him. And on the day of sentencing, Joyce, she said, no, it's not me.
Wow. My goodness.
I walked away,
My goodness.
committed that I survived doing 25 years for something I didn't do.
Right.
And I said I'm committed to do something in my community and
Understood.
advocate for young men
Yes.
who possibly would go through what I went through
Right.
and help out my community. And I've been doing it now for 32 years.
That's wonderful. That's a testimony. And see, what I like for it, you stood up for it, because I've heard of similar stories. They're like, no, I don't want my name attached to something I didn't do.
Yeah.
And you stood up for that.
My stories, you know, I had a rough life living in the South Bronx, like
Right.
most brothers and sisters that live in the South Bronx. Had it rough.
Right.
It's crime infested, it's drug infested with
Right.
lack of resources.
Right.
Not too many of us get out of here.
Right.
I'm a miracle. Derek
Okay.
is a miracle.
Right.
Okay, and we got a chance to go to college. We got
Right.
a college degree.
Right.
We were just trying to get a high school diploma. Okay? And then when I was at St. Raymond's, and I mentioned this because that was another motivation for me going to college.
Right.
I got kicked out of there for academics, doing great athletically, but I got kicked out for academics. You leave a public school, high school, and go to a Catholic high school,
It's tough.
a big difference.
It's an adjustment.
But why I mention this, because the principal told me that I would not be anything, and I wasn't anything as he kicked me out of the school.
Right.
That was my motivation
Right.
for that principal. So I was hoping that when I graduated, he would still be there.
And was
the
he?
day I got my sheepskin, and I was walking down the aisles with tears.
Yes.
Because here's a kid from the South Bronx, didn't never think he would graduate high school. I'm getting a Bachelor's of Arts degree. And the first place I went when I came to New York was back to St. Raymond's. And he was still in that office.
Here.
And I told him, you see this?
Yes.
This is my Bachelor's of Arts degree. You told me I would never be nothing. And what he said to me, he said, I apologize, young man. I was wrong. And I said, don't you ever tell a young man that they won't be anything. You don't know who's going to be who.
Right.
And I left out of there very proud of that.
So all of those experiences that you had and the emotion and passion that you endured, you're handing that down, you're mentoring young men.
Oh, it changed
Now-
my life
yeah.
drastically. It changed my. The youth shelter program in Westchester is an alternative for young men 19 to 29.
That's
They're doing fabulous
sensitive
things.
age too.
Yeah, it's doing fabulous things.
Yes.
I'm seeing young men get a second chance where people gave up on them,
Right.
and they're becoming firemen. They're
Wow.
becoming having their own computer business.
Yes.
And they're doing so, and they'll come up and walk up to me and they'll say, "Mr. Coombs, do you remember me?" It's so many of them, I don't remember them.
Right.
But they give me a recollection, and then I
gravitate to you.
recall.
Because and see, it's a difference when you hear somebody else's testimony and their heartfelt dedication that you show and reaching somebody. Because that's one of the things I was listening to Obama's speech. He said we have to reach people. We have to help people. Because, you know, we all are different, but we have the same mission and goals and the same morals and principles that we're trying to better ourselves and make something in this country together.
Absolutely.
And you showed that by being there hands-on with people.
Absolutely. And another organization, 100 Black Men of
Tell me
New
about
York.
that, 100.
We established the Eagle Academy for Young Men,
Right.
2004. I'm a part of that.
Okay.
Okay, we started out because the statistics stated that most of the young men in the crime-infested areas are going upstate to prison,
Okay.
are coming from those boroughs.
All right.
Brooklyn predominantly, the Bronx, Manhattan, and Staten Island and Queens.
Right.
But so we started it in the Bronx, and after the Bronx we did Queens, and after Queens we did Brooklyn, and after Brooklyn we did Manhattan,
Okay.
and then we did Staten Island. And then Newark was having a problem up there, which they're still having problems. So we started a school in Newark, New Jersey. So we have 6 schools, 5 in all the boroughs, and 1 in Newark, New Jersey. What's so good about making those schools happen is that those kids graduated from the Eagle Academies and got
Yes.
scholarships
Oh, yes,
to
I know
Harvard,
the Eagle Academies.
Yale,
Yes.
Syracuse,
Right.
West Point,
Yes.
Columbia, all these schools
Prominent
that they
schools,
said
yes.
they could
Could
not
not.
get into or would not get into.
All right.
All that proved is that each one of us in those communities just need
Right.
an opportunity.
That's
just
it.
all we need is a chance.
Yes.
Give us some resources. Okay, don't leave us out in the crime-infested, drug-infested without resources. You give us the resources and we'll jump at it. We'll
Right.
make a difference. What I've seen now, since I've been around these young people, is when Derek and I and other brothers grew up in the community,
Right.
we didn't have the opportunity, but we had the desire.
Yes.
Now, the kids have the opportunity, but no desire. And we have to work on that.
Right, right. And it's good that you said that. We have to work on that because there's so many other men like you, Derek, some of the other members of the Bronx Basketball Hall of Fame that have that passion to mentor these generations that are without that. You know, and even Derek and I, we spoke of, and others, you hear a lot that they don't, like you said, the resources. They need a place to go to. We need community centers. Open up the school and have the after-school program, not just for pre-K and, you know, daycare, but for some of these teenagers. Because I see too many on the sidewalks, you know, walking up and down. We have places to go to, you know, and we had good times. We had boat rides. We had, you know, you have your little dances, you have your parties, you have this. But then at some point you had mentorship, fundamentals, like learning how to write a resume, learning how to write an application when you go for the job, learning certain basic fundamental skills. Even though parents taught it, but you still have more practices at these resource places and resource centers where you can get together and get it. Because I work at a job now, and not to make fun of, but the young man had to sign his name. And I gave him the pen, and I said, sign your name.
Can't sign it.
No, he said both of them. And I'm like, wow. Because times have changed scholastically in the schools, they don't teach penmanship now. They don't even teach telling time on a clock because everything is digital. So there's certain changes and different developments in the school systems, but there's certain parts I say morally, that still need to be addressed that they're not getting enough of. That's my opinion. I'm not saying it's abroad, but I
Well,
see that.
Right now, New York City has one of the best people as chancellors that they could have is David Banks, who's a very good friend of mine. And the many things that you said, David Banks is working on right now.
Great, great.
He's making a difference in the special ed. He's making a difference with the teachers.
Right.
And he's doing a lot of things right now. It's only 2 years in, but still, in the 2 years, what he's accomplished and what he's trying to accomplish. District Attorney Bragg, for Manhattan District Attorney, he just had a big forum the other day with all the sororities and fraternities and Mason organizations and Eastern Stars. He had them all come together to figure out what can we do to stop the crime as an organization, as a people. Okay, so you have a lot of people that's trying to do a lot of good things in New York City.
Okay. So before we close, I want to thank you, Rudy, for coming on this show and expressing and sharing with us, okay? And just want to, before we go off, what is it you're looking for the Bronx Basketball Hall of Fame? What are some of your short-term goals right now for the rest of the year?
Right now, we're doing exactly what we wanted to do. We need more sponsors. Okay, we got to get into grant writings. We got to get some grants. We need some grants. Okay, and we need some sponsors. Okay, I think we're taking. You have to crawl before you walk.
True.
And I think we're doing that.
Right.
We're making little mistakes, but that's usual for an organization just starting out.
You have to learn.
And we haven't made any major mistakes.
Right.
Okay, what we need to communicate better as a board.
Right.
Okay, and that's all organizations, not just Bronx Basketball Hall of Fame.
A lot of organizations.
Okay, but what I'd like to see, and I know the board would like to see, is us giving scholarships out to the youths in the Bronx at some point in time, where we can say, here's a 4-year scholarship for you, okay, from our organization. We're not there yet, but we'll get there.
We're going to get there.
We'll get there.
So as you hear Rudy Coombs express that, we are looking for contributions, donations, and monetary, even if you have items, assets, you can help the organization, and even if you can help donate your time. Look at the website. There's information on the website that you can reach out to Mr. Coombs, Derek Dowd, or myself, or other people there if you have expressions and anything you would like to contribute, even if it's a thought or an idea. We thank you for watching. We thank you in advance for what you can give. Thank you for being on the show, Rudy. I enjoyed you.
Go to the Bronx Basketball, HOF.com for all the information you want on the Bronx Basketball Hall of Fame.
There you go, you have it. Have a safe day and share with the neighbor, because it's about the neighborhood and you. God bless you.